1.
Russ at the airport to catch a flight. He is on his way to his brother's wedding. His flight is about to leave. As he runs through the terminal to his departure gate, an elderly man suddenly slips and falls in front of him. The man cries out in pain. Russ knows that if he stopped to help the man, he would miss his flight. If he missed his flight, he would miss his brother's wedding. Russ runs past the man as if he hadn't seen him. Would you have done what Russ did?
2. Mike is taking an extremely important history test. The test will determine whether he passes the class. Mike has been studying for the test day and night. He feels well prepared, but when the test is in front of him, Mike's mind goes blank. He can't remember anything. It is as if he had never studied. Sam is the best student in the class and is sitting right next to Mike. Sam's paper is close enough for Mike to see the answers. The teacher is not paying attention. Mike knows that if he copied Sam's answers, the teacher wouldn't see. What would you do if you were Mike? 3.
A ship strikes an iceberg and 10 passengers crowd into a lifeboat that is only intended to hold 9. The lifeboat slowly starts to sink because of the extra weight. If it does, all 10 passengers will die in the freezing water. The captain considers his choices and decides to force the weakest individual out of the lifeboat. He reasons that if he did nothing, everyone would drown. This way, only one person drowns, and this person would have drowned anyway. Others on the lifeboat feel that this choice is morally wrong. They say that if he did nothing, then even if none of them survived, at least no one would be responsible for anyone's death. If you were the captain, what would you do?
4.
Mariana has struggled in science class for years. This year, to help motivate her, Mariana's parents have told her that if she receives a B on her report card, they will help her buy a cell phone. But Mariana has done poorly in the class and knows that her final grade will be a D. The day her report card is due to arrive in the mail, Mariana arrives home from school and is greeted by her parents with hugs and smiles. She takes a look at the report card and sees that her grade in science is an A. Clearly, this is a mistake, but Mariana can get away with it if she doesn't say anything. The cell phone is only part of the reason that she's tempted not to say anything. She also dreads the idea of seeing the pride on her parents' faces vanish. What would you do if you were Mariana?
Can I talk to you about a problem I'm struggling with?
Sure. What's going on?
Well, I've been working at a clothing store in the mall for a month now. Last week, I saw a guy I work with stuffing a shirt into his bag. When I asked him about it, he acted all innocent. Then this week, I caught him taking a pair of pants. This time he promised he wouldn't steal anything again and begged me not to tell the manager.
So, what are you going to do?
That's the problem. I don't know. If I told the manager, he would get fired.
Yeah, but now that you know about it, if you don't tell the manager, you'll be helping him get away with stealing. He's put you in a rotten position.
I know. What do you think I should do?
The way I see it, if he's stolen twice before, he's likely to steal again. You can't trust him. Do you think he might even steal from the cash register?
I wouldn't put it past him.
It seems to me that you may get yourself in trouble if you don't blow the whistle on him. Of course, it's your call, but if I were you, I would let the manager know.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Mount Hood is the highest mountain in Oregon, a state in the western United States. At 3,400 meters, it is an irresistible draw to hikers looking for a challenge. Inevitably, some of these hikers run into trouble. Each year, 25 to 50 people have accidents or get lost on Mount Hood and require rescue. Although most of these are understandable accidents, a few result from reckless risk-taking. In one recent case, 3 experienced climbers went hiking in the middle of a snowstorm in December with minimal gear. Most hikers climb Mount Hood in May or June when the weather conditions are favorable. But in December, the mountain is covered in snow and ice. Winds up to 135 kilometers per hour whip the snow around, making it difficult to see. Temperatures can drop below freezing. As one rescue worker put it, what were they thinking? They were just asking for it. There is growing frustration in the community towards such risk-takers and the danger they put the rescuers in. During a rescue a few years ago, a helicopter full of rescue workers crashed, and the rescue workers narrowly escaped being killed. Linda Carl, who lives in the Mount Hood area, asks, if someone made a poor decision, why should rescue teams have to risk their lives to save them? Why are people tempted to take unnecessary risks and do things that aren't right if they know that they can get into trouble? Most of the Mount Hood rescue workers are either volunteers or part of the local sheriff's department. There is no charge for these rescues. It is the taxpayers who pay the bill. Some have begun to suggest that people who take irresponsible risks and require rescue should be charged for the rescue. They feel it is only fair that costs for things like damaged helicopters and medical care for rescuers be paid for by the people who took the risks. What would you do if you were the local sheriff at Mount Hood?
One. 3 experienced climbers went hiking in the middle of a snowstorm. 2. The weather conditions are favorable for hikers in May and June. 3. In December, the mountain is covered in snow and ice. 4. Temperatures can drop below freezing at this time of year. 5. Most of the Mount Hood rescue workers are volunteers. 6. There is no charge for these rescues.
Peeking into our medical future. Did you know that a drop of your blood can predict diseases you may develop in the future? This is possible through genetic testing that analyzes the genetic information found in the cells of your body. Each cell contains a sample of DNA. The information in DNA can help determine a person's risk of developing certain diseases years from now. The most common type of genetic testing is called newborn screening. The goal of newborn screening is to identify treatable genetic disorders in newborn babies. In many countries, infants are screened in the hospital shortly after they are born. Although it is rare to find that a baby has a genetic disorder, those that do have a disorder start receiving treatment right away. This early diagnosis and treatment prevents physical and mental problems, and sometimes even death. Another type of genetic testing is called predictive gene testing. This is used to predict an adult's risk of developing certain diseases later in life. People who undergo this type of genetic testing are usually from a family in which many members have had a particular inherited disease, like certain cancers or Alzheimer's disease. There are many obvious benefits to this kind of testing. A negative test, a test that says a person is not likely to develop a disorder, can bring a tremendous sense of relief. Jen Thompson, who recently underwent predictive gene testing for colon cancer, explains, "So many people in my family died of colon cancer. I worried constantly. When the test came back negative, I felt as if someone had lifted an enormous weight off my shoulders." A positive test has benefits as well. It warns of the need for preventative care, like frequent checkups, dietary changes, medicines, or even the option of surgically removing the part likely to develop the disease. For example, if Thompson's test had been positive, she might have chosen to have her colon removed. There are also some controversial downsides to genetic testing. The value of genetic testing is particularly questionable when testing for a disease that is untreatable. For example, Alzheimer's disease runs in An Lee's family. An has decided to get genetic testing to see if she is likely to develop it. But her husband Bao is not happy about her choice. Bao explains, "If the result is positive, how will it help to know that she will probably develop the disease? If I had the Alzheimer's gene, I wouldn't want to know." Another issue is that even if someone tests positively for a disease, it doesn't mean that they will definitely develop the disease. So a person could spend years worrying about something that never ends up happening. Genetic testing has the potential to impact millions of lives in the future. Many are excited about the future of genetics, while others have deep concerns about it. But for better or for worse, soon we may all have the ability to peek into our medical future.
After I finished school, I chose to try out a number of things before settling on one field of study or profession. I had originally wanted to go to art school, but had changed my mind when I found out how hard it was for graduates to find employment. I was also reluctant to go ahead with it because I knew that my father was likely to disapprove in a quiet but very noticeable manner. He wanted me to study medicine, but I didn't. I took a number of courses in typing, shorthand, French, art, design, and literature, and worked part-time as a public relations assistant, a shop assistant, etc. Eventually, I started studying psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. I had also managed to attend a teaching methodology course that qualified me as a language teacher, but I was not at all certain that I wanted a teaching career. At some point, I was approached by a new airline company that invited me to do an interview, followed by a test before I could be offered a job. At the time, I used to help out with registration at a large language center where my uncle taught. So, I agreed to spend the next few days working for them from morning till evening, totally forgetting the airline company. 2 days later, the man I knew from the airline company turned up and accused me of being irresponsible because I had not bothered to check with the airline company on the final results and a job offer. He said there was still time to do it, but I would have to drop what I was doing and run. For some reason, I did exactly the opposite. I stayed put, thanked him, and went back to work. Later that evening, I was offered my first teaching job by the director of studies. I have often wondered what my life would have been like if I had chosen the airline company instead, but not too enthusiastically. Regardless of difficulties and ups and downs, this is the choice that has become a life's choice, and no amount of wondering is likely to ever make me regret it.